Hello, how are you? I think I would start with that. Anyway, let's move on. I've been meaning to create this video since someone left a comment wanting to know what the daily or the monthly struggles are by being in a relationship with an ISTJ. However, I did have some hesitation because ultimately it means that I must speak about their flaws or weaknesses publicly. To be quite honest, when I tried to think about which ones would be considered daily struggles, it became hard because I wasn't entirely sure which one was actually like an ISTJ trademark or if it was more of a guy thing. In any case, what I decided to do is to just review what other people shared and posted on comments, and along with that, I also checked out some of the many websites that describe the strengths and the weaknesses of the ISTJ. They all kind of came to the same things. It's, they're stubborn and they're resistant to change and they're insensitive and judgmental. Now, I do believe that stubbornness and resistance to change could be combined into one, because resistance to change is a symptom of inflexibility, which is related to stubbornness. So anyway, I think some of the weaknesses could be combined into one, and maybe they don't have that many weaknesses, but maybe the one weakness, which is inflexibility, is a pretty big deal. Anyway, I am using something, by the way, right here to kind of have all of this written down, because lately it's been kind of hard to pin down my thoughts. I get distracted by other thoughts. Okay, so we need to remember something important. That is that we all have these traits. In other words, the ISTJ holds INFJ traits and vice versa. The INFJ will hold ISTJ traits. We all carry these characteristics, but what makes us different is how we use them, and to the degree that we use these traits. We gravitate towards one. Ones come more naturally to us, so that's what makes the difference. But we all have access, we all carry them. So that's that. But we ultimately want to grow. And relationships can offer us that. In my case, because our differences are quite noticeable, I'm able to grow at a faster pace, which I appreciate now because I didn't always appreciate it. I had a really hard time at the very beginning. Not the very beginning, because the very beginning is actually always butterflies and great and fantastic. But then later on, I did struggle quite a bit because there was a lot of resistance. And I could not see the blessing per se, and it was all in the end great for me, because I've been able to understand someone that is very different from me at a whole different level. So anyway, as I was saying, we all essentially want to grow. We all want to become better, and some people seek that out more than others. To some people, it's more important than to others. But I don't think anyone would deny wanting to become better and wanting to grow. And we go into relationships seeking someone that will complement us well. Looking for someone that will bring something to the table that is probably something that is not our strength. But are we always going to have them do that? Are we always going to let them bring that to the table? Or are we going to pick that up and eventually we can apply that ourselves? Or are we always going to remain half of something forever? I mean, unless that's your goal, then that's fine and dandy. But Carl Jung said, self-realization can be achieved only by attaining a balance between various opposing forces of personality. And what is self-realization? Well, the internet's definition for it is the fulfillment of one's own potential. And to me, self-realization means to become more complete, not perfect, but more well-rounded. See, the way I believe it might be is that because we are all human, we all have these like imaginary doors that are available to us. And imagine all of these being traits, skills. And we can access all of these doors. And some people avoid certain doors for good reasons. But that doesn't mean that they should not even at least try, at least peek and see what's behind that door. one of those doors will be an opposing force. But we need to learn how to balance all of these. We need to learn. That's how you grow, by applying new things. And some people might say, well, you can also grow by getting really good at one particular skill, by getting really good at one trait. And yes, but that has a limit as well. That has an ending. Then you're going to want to pick up a new one and get really good at that one too. So anyway, I think I'm veering off completely. This is a reason why I write something, so that I don't veer off. So, okay, going back to the ISTJ weaknesses, and I think the one that will probably bother the INFJ the most is the perceived, because it's not always like that. They don't mean to, but we do perceive them as a little bit intellectually arrogant, and stubborn and inflexible in that area. And we like to talk about stuff. And so what they need to do is they need to work on flexing these hard-held beliefs, which is fine. But here's the thing, you need to remember that the system is in place. And I've mentioned this before. The system that is in place praises, rewards the ISTJ style of thinking and doing things, because they maintain the status quo, because they go by the book, because they don't question authority, so on and so forth. So it's not like you're going up an individual, you're going up against an entire system. So what can you do? Well, you're going to require a lot of patience and repetition, because you're going to have to remind them to harness or foster intellectual humility, and realizing that, hey, maybe the facts that you can remember astonishingly from elementary school, from high school, like little details, they probably don't apply so much now. And listen to what I have to say, because I have been dedicating a lot of time while you've been busy reading other stuff that are still very relevant, like finances and stock market and retirement accounts and all that stuff, which is fantastic. But listen to what I have to say. Just give me a moment. And they will listen. That's not the problem. I think it is that sometimes their counter argument or their rebuttal is going to be lazy. And I don't mind people not agreeing with my own thoughts or my own ideas, but I don't want a lazy rebuttal. I want a good rebuttal. I want a good debate, a juicy one that has legitimate points. And the ISTJs, well, they don't spend that much time digging around and investigating and researching and reading the same materials that an INFJ likes to spend time in. And so they might give you a lazy rebuttal. Again, you just have to be patient and remind them that they should hand over the reins when it is due, as someone mentioned in the comment section. I don't know if I said this already, but it was incredibly relevant, and this is actually something that I've mentioned even in my case. Anyway, so that's that. But that is the biggest thing. That's going to be your biggest antidote to reducing those flaws, those imperfections, those just little things that we all have. Anyway, I think that's that. I'll talk to you soon.